It's one thing when a musician insults someone live on stage, but it's a bigger deal when a musician or band make an entire song just to describe how awful they think someone is. It's happened for decades, and regardless of how vague or specific the lyrics can be, the offense can definitely be read between the lines. This video looks at 10 rock songs written as insults. This video is not a top 10, no ranking, just a list. Also, I'm only including songs where the songwriters have made it publicly clear who the song is written for. You know how these videos work, let's get to it. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, or whatever Gandhi said. Amy Lee of Evanescence has felt that scorn, and she got direct when writing Call Me When You're Sober. After a long relationship with Sean Morgan of Seether that ended with the couple breaking and the latter entering rehab, this track was a personal statement toward her former lover. It was a bit of airing dirty laundry, but I also feel it was some necessary catharsis that many people probably related to when they were dealing with a partner who was making things worse for themselves. It's great that rehab was an option, and both parties were able to move on, but the anger from how things happened was clear in the song. Call Me When You're Sober is understandably bitter. Lyrics including, "You can't play the victim this time and you're too late," doesn't really leave room for ambiguity. The following year, Sean Morgan would tell MTV that there wouldn't be a response to this, saying, "What can I do? I just refuse to lower myself to that level." Some say Amy Lee had the right to make that song, some say she went too far, but all I know is that both Evanescence and Seether are still around today making music in their own paths. Maybe that wouldn't have happened if they stayed together. We then go to a different type of insult where it's on behalf of someone else, and it's quite sinister and direct, and wow, people did not like Courtney Love. It wasn't just in the grunge heyday either, or in the aftermath of Cobain's passing. Scott Weiland and Stone Temple Pilots were still quite disgusted with one Courtney Love, and sang about it in Too Cool Queenie. STP's 2001 album, Shangri-La Dee Da, is an odd entry for both the band and just rock in general in the early 2000s, and included on the album was some direct blame aimed at Love for the passing of Cobain. Weiland and STP were upset for many years due to Love's actions toward the remaining members of Nirvana. Weiland talked about it in his autobiography that this song was directed at Courtney Love, and when you hear lyrics talking about the tragedy of Kurt Cobain taking his own life after Love saying he could do no right, yeah, that's pretty dark. Stone Temple Pilots were right there with Nirvana in the glorious grunge days, and as unfortunate as Weiland's story is, so is Cobain's, and Courtney Love's. No one wins in a song like this, and it only fueled more fire toward the whole singer. STP was not the only one to do that either. Foo Fighters also were very direct to Courtney Love, and this connection is a bit stronger as Dave Grohl obviously was there for all of the Nirvana run, as well as being around Cobain and Love all the time. In the mid-90s, Love accused Grohl of being greedy, and Grohl made sure Foo Fighters always had songs to explain why he does not owe Courtney anything. First, Dave Grohl is a treasure. Second, the song I'll Stick Around made it crystal clear that Courtney Love was not responsible for Nirvana being a big deal, and that Courtney Love isn't owed anything directly from Dave Grohl. It also helps the Foo Fighters made a great song around it as well. Lyrics including, "How could it be that I'm the only one who sees your rehearsed insanity," and then later screaming, "I don't know you anything," is quite vivid and personal. It's written so that any listener can apply to someone in their own life, but it's worth remembering I'll Stick Around was made in anger and defense toward Courtney Love. I don't want to harp too much on the Courtney Love stuff anymore, so I'll just leave it with this little tidbit. The official video for this song on Foo Fighters' YouTube page has the lyrics in the description, but it's just "I don't owe you anything" 4 times. That's it. It's really all you need to know about the song meaning. Nothing says unhinged, antisocial, angry man rock like Godsmack. They really hold nothing back making music for 40-year-olds who hate their job and families. Not to say Godsmack is untalented, that's not it at all, but the music is normally quite threatening and angry. Back in 2010, however, Sully Erna and company got really angry at one Nikki Sixx and made sure everybody knew about it. After Godsmack went on tour with Motley Crue, lifelong enemies were made. I cannot even begin to describe the angry rants that Godsmack members have made about Mr. Sixx due to how foul they got. YouTube would flag this video. Hence the song Crying Like a Bitch, please YouTube don't censor that, that's the name of the song, was created. Sully Erna and bandmates have tried to play coy over the years on who the song is about. They have also made it publicly known their anger toward Nikki Sixx and how the song specifically describes their experience with the man. It's obvious, and Godsmack aren't exactly known for subtlety. Lines including, "Blinded by your sacred faded past times, you can run your little mouth all day, and you wonder why no one can stand you." Godsmack did not write a love letter. They made a hate-filled song with a repeated riff for almost 4 minutes. Da 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 da.
What a fun song for radio.
It's deathcore versus trashcore. It's wild to me to think that this all happened back in 2008. Even more wild that Amur is still active after so much, everything. The Acacia strain and Amur actually started out cordially enough, but after a while the Acacia strain started complaining publicly that Amur was stealing their sound, and badly at that.
One group being mad at another for ripping off their sound is not a novel concept. What is interesting is that it all was in 2007's 2008's deathcore. It's deathcore. There's going to be some similarity no matter what. The Acacia strain took the offensive with Skynet. Not so much love for the Terminator though, as it's much more targeting Frankie and Amur at the time, with lines such as, if you think like a whore, then you're a whore. Plagiarism is the highest form of flattery, and keep fooling yourself with your unappreciation. Amur would make a follow-up song going even lower called R2 Deep Throat, because it's Amur. That's why they called it that. They're Amur. This resulted in a violent feud between everyone involved, and it took a while for things to actually calm down. Oddly enough, things would eventually blow over, and the groups would even tour together years later. Deathcore bands are quick to forgive after fistfights and calling each other whores.
I already talked about awful political songs, so this time I wanted to talk about one that people are fond of from a band who have a true revival out of it. When American Idiot dropped, people realized that Green Day were much more than dookie, and when a song like Holiday came out as a direct shot at President George W. Bush and his administration, people knew Green Day were angry.
For a track that sounds not nearly as sinister or angry as the melody and tone alludes, Holiday somehow makes us sing along for the terrible things that were happening in the mid-2000s, including bombings and war, fighting for oil, and the rise of supporting politicians and Fox News and CNN talking heads as celebrities. Billy Joe meant for this song to be a politician's worst nightmare, specifically George W. Bush, but specified the track by telling Rolling Stone, Holiday is not anti-American, it's anti-war. That's something that became polarizing at the time, but Green Day made it clear who they were insulting and what that man stood for. Holiday as a song is a great time capsule track of the mid-2000s, and it did speak for many people who were upset of the state of the world at that time. What's worse is that our apathy on important issues proves we are still on holiday.
Fast forward to 2019. Things politically were still contentious in the US, with both sides still refusing to work together. It was so intense, Tool came back after 13 years to release a new album and talk about it. Fear Inoculum ended with a Grammy-winning Tempest as a direct shot at politicians who willfully mislead and tell anyone what they want to hear while never delivering, especially focused at the man in office that year.
Over 15 minutes of Tool doing what they do best with a jam session, amazing guitar work, wild drums and bass, and Maynard ranting about the nonsense he saw people fall for while promising a storm is coming, the Tempest. Direct shots at the former president with lyrics such as acting all surprised when you're caught in a lie, we know better, we know your nature, among many others. It all served as an insult and a warning. Things do not work out well for people like that no matter what the position of power. Maynard James Keenan is bonkers. He is a ridiculous man, there's no denying it. That also doesn't mean you should cross him or that he won't call out your garbage if he sees it. Tool will most likely sound great while they get the point across also, which is always something to rely on.
Nightwish have seen their share of changes with singers and members, and one of the most memorable was when Tarja was removed in 2005. It was not a peaceful parting of the ways, and even after Tarja had left, the next album featuring Annette as singer would also feature Bye Bye Beautiful, one of several direct insulting and venting songs towards someone who has hurt Nightwish, according to the band.
Bye Bye Beautiful put Annette Olsen in an awkward place, but it still helped to launch the song as a single and get Thomas's feelings out over working, or not being able to work, with Tarja for years. For all the amazing sounds and operatic stories and writing and symphonic metal that Nightwish have made, their own personal stories are also quite intense. Bye Bye Beautiful addresses Tarja in the song that's someone who never read what other people would write for Nightwish's music and criticized her dedication to the band. Those are harsh accusations for someone you work with and depend on in a group, and that only kept the endless symphonic metal drama going. Even though Nightwish would rarely perform Bye Bye Beautiful and stopped playing it altogether, the song still did more than enough damage, along with the song Master Passion Greed, going after Nightwish's former manager and husband of Tarja. That's a lot to sing goodbye to.
I knew about Hot Dog and the lyrics involved and how Fred Durst was trying to be cheeky with directing a shot at Trent Reznor, but the deeper I dug, the dumber I felt. Limp Bizkit, never a band to hold back on trying to sound tough and it not ending up well, were quite upset about how Trent Reznor called out Fred Durst for his shenanigans. The execution and end result, however, is kind of pathetic.
I know many people have seen the new Woodstock 99 documentary Trainwreck, but 2 decades before that documentary aired, Reznor pointed the finger at Fred Durst for his destructive and violence-inciting performance at Woodstock. He didn't hold back on it either. So how did Limp Bizkit retaliate in the year 2000? They made the song Hot Dog. They used Nine Inch Nails' lyrics and riffs in the song to help flesh it out, too. Durst and company tried to use Trent's own words against him, even though they were fragmented and taken from massively successful songs. Even on paper, this was just a bad idea for Limp Bizkit to do. It got worse since Limp Bizkit used Nine Inch Nails' writing, and since they had to then credit Trent Reznor as a writer in Hot Dog on that album, and Limp Bizkit had to pay some serious royalties to Trent Reznor. Everything about this song is a disaster from conception to execution, and Trent Reznor is still going just fine. The insult did not land on him.
Ending with a legendary band who did not care who they upset. Queen had been through it all over the years with labels, executives, studios, media, and then you have their own personal lives and conflicts. But when their original manager, Norman Sheffield, had been living off of Queen's hard work for far too long, Freddie Mercury decided to go for the throat with Death on Two Legs.
According to Queen, Sheffield had been living a lavish lifestyle while the band was getting significantly less in the band's early years. Weird how it's 50 years later and the music industry still hasn't changed that much. Freddie's intention for the song was to sound as coarse as possible. The rest of the band was shocked at the lyrics and anger, but they went with it. Lyrics including, "You're a sewer rat decaying in a cesspool of pride." It's hard to misread the feeling shared. The song did well, and wow, things got heavy after that. Sheffield sued for defamation and an out-of-court settlement was reached, which proved to the public that Death on Two Legs was written about Sheffield. Life on Two Legs would come later to help explain more of everything that went on, but if history has taught us anything, it's that the world was not ready for Freddie Mercury and he had no problem being Mr. Bad Guy when he was wronged. And that was a look at 10 rock songs written as insults. Know of another song meant to offend? Leave a comment and let everyone know. Big thanks to my patrons and special thanks to Chris Doman and Dom Noble. You can have a say in upcoming videos, get weekly music playlists, and see videos early by supporting Rocked on Patreon. Click on the link in the video description for more information on helping the channel. Please subscribe and ring the bell to get notified of upcoming videos, and you can keep up to date with Rocked on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. There are much fewer diss tracks and insult songs in heavy music now, partly because so much of heavy music is self-loathing and misery. So I guess the logic is, if you don't want to insult someone else, you just have to insult yourself.